Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, it is so good to have you here today. Today, we're going to be talking about an incredibly important topic of how you can know for sure if you are set up to not run out of money in retirement. And we're going to actually do a case study and work through an example together based on an example, a situation I got through a viewer and listener just like you. So you can understand, okay, how can I think through my own numbers to make sure you are going to be okay? Now, if you want to submit a question or want me to go over something for you, you can submit a question below. There's a link below in the description to do that, and you may be featured on the next one. So let's dive right in. I want to, again, provide as much value as I can for you. So by commenting below, by submitting your questions, it helps me tailor this stuff just for you. So this federal employee, they reached out and they said this. They said, I just retired on October 31st, 2022. First of all, congratulations, I'm retired. That's incredible. Next, they say, I have $530,000 in my TSP with 70% in the G fund and 30% in the C fund. They then go on to say, I plan on using the 4% rule. With these numbers, should I run out of money in 30 years? Okay, this is a great question. So as a summary of what they said, hey, look, I just retired. I've got $530,000 in my TSP, right? They said 70% of it was in the G fund. The other 30 was in the C fund, okay? And they said, hey, look, I'm planning to use the 4% rule. If you haven't heard of that, we're going to cover that. Don't worry. Am I set up to have a great retirement? And this is a great question, okay? And we're going to go through an example together. Now, we're certainly going to talk about how this investment, how they're invested is going to affect their retirement. But where we're going to start is what the 4% rule is and how to apply it and what that actually is going to look like for this person. Okay, so if you don't know already, the 4% rule is a strategy. It's a rule so that you never have to worry about running out of money in retirement. That's what it is, which is awesome. We like that, right? So let's do an example. Let's pull out my handy dandy calculator, okay? And basically, if we take how much someone has in the TSP or investments, let's say you have an IRA, your wife has or your spouse has a 401k, add up all your investments together that you're going to be using for retirement and times that, multiply that by 4%. So in this example, it's $530,000, okay, times or multiplied by 4%. So what we get is $21,200. Okay, so 4% of this number is this number, 21,200. So this is what the 4% rule says. Now I'm going to actually make some room here. Let's clean this up. Let's make some room. So this is what the 4% rule says. They say, hey, look, in year one, you can take out 21,200 from your investments and you're good to go, right? That's awesome. That's year one. But what about year two? Well, in year two, you can actually take out this number, the 21,200 again, plus whatever inflation was on top of that. So if inflation was 10%, then you could take out the 21,000 plus another 10% of that on top of it, okay? So that's year two, and you do the exact same thing every single year for the rest of your life. So every single year, you start with the 21,200. The next year is that plus whatever inflation was. And then for the third year, you take year two's number and increase it by inflation. And again, you keep doing that for the rest of your life, okay? That's what the 4% rule says, okay? And it's conservative enough that 99% of the time, people have no worries about running out of money at all, okay? It is it's a great rule, okay? So in this example, this federal employee can spend $21,200 a year from their TSP. Now, to know if that's going to be enough for them and that they are able to afford to retire, they'd have to first figure out what their pension's going to be, their Social Security, what that's going to be, what other income sources they have, what those are going to be. And then once they add on top of that, the 21,200, if that adds up to enough, hey, they're golden. They're good to go, okay? So that is what the 4% rule says for them, okay? Is that about 21,200 would be the amount they take out, adjusted for inflation, every single year. Okay, so that is the base, right? Hopefully you understand that. Again, if that wasn't clear, I'll certainly do more videos. I've done other videos on the 4% rule as well, so definitely check that out, okay? So that's the 4% rule. Now, here's the catch, I guess you could say, right? The catch is that the 4% rule assumes you invest certain ways. You can't just invest all in the G fund and hope the 4% rule is going to work for you. It could, but odds are it won't, right? Because the G fund is just going to be too conservative over your retirement, right? So this federal employee, again, I'm going to make some room here. Going to make some room. This federal employee said they were 70% in the G fund and 30% in the C fund. Okay, so 70% in the G, 30% in the C. Now, what the 4% rule assumes is that you have at least half of your money in something like the C fund, something that's going to grow, and the other half in something that's more safe, like the G fund. Okay, that's what they assume, is that you have at least half of your money in the C fund or something similar, if not more. And if you have less than that, well, the 4% rule becomes irrelevant because you're not following the basic precepts by which it was set up, right? And so if you want to use the 4% rule, you're going to want to follow the baseline of how the research was done, which is, hey, at least half of their money was in something like the C fund, which is going to grow over time. Now, that may freak you out. And say, well, look, I'm retiring. I need this money. I'm going to start spending this money. I don't want it to go down at all. How do I invest at least half of it in something like the C fund if I'm retiring, right? I'm retiring tomorrow. I need to be safe. Well, great thought. So in this example, let's actually go through, okay, how should this person be investing? If 70% is too much, how much should it be? Should it be exactly 50% in each, like the 4% rule assumes? And you can. That would be good. But if you really wanted to tailor, if you want a tailored approach for you, this is how I do it. Okay, let's make some room, right? Again, if you're on the podcast, I'm doing things on my whiteboard, so definitely check out the YouTube video that goes along with this, because it'd probably make a lot more sense, okay? So let's start here. So if you haven't heard of the bucket system, okay, the bucket system is an incredible way to figure out how you should be investing your money, your TSP in retirement, even though you're going to start needing that money. But like we know, we need some of our money to be growing faster than inflation over time. So this is how it's structured. We have a short-term bucket and a long-term bucket. And now I know in previous videos, I've added like a mid-term bucket, which is totally fine. You could structure it however you'd like, right? There's different ways. Basically in this example, just so you know, I'm combining the short-term and mid-term bucket just to keep this super simple, okay? So this is how it works. What you want to do is to have about 7 years, and it varies slightly person to person, but let's just to keep it simple, you want about 7 years worth of money here in the short-term bucket, okay? So for example, what does that mean? Well, let's say you're retiring tomorrow. You want the first 7 years of your retirement, any money you need from your investments during that time, you want that to be in the short-term bucket, which is super safe, right? We're talking some G fund, maybe some F fund, some safer investments, okay? Now, any money you don't need for 7+ years, we want to get some growth on in the meantime, right? So we want that money to be over here, something like a C fund, S fund, those sort of funds, okay? Now, again, as you probably know, over here on the long-term bucket side, things are going to be a little more volatile. It's going to be up and down. But guess what? Because we have the short-term bucket in place, when the market's having a down year, when things are not doing well, well, we don't have to worry about it because we can just pull from the short-term bucket, right? We don't have to touch the investments, the long-term money when it's down. We just live off the short-term in the meantime. And then when things are back up, that is when we pull from the long-term and move it over and to fill up the short term. So that is the bucket strategy in a nutshell, right? Just the general structure. I've got other videos if you want more in depth, but that's the general structure. So for this federal employees example that they sent in, what if they are planning to spend about $21,000 a year because of the 4% rule, right? Well, let's do some math. Let's take 21,000, right? 21,000 times 7. Well, that equals just shy. I'm going to make some room here. That equals just shy of I need my marker. Just shy of $150,000. $150,000, right? So in this example, if they put $150,000 here in the short-term bucket, right? Because they're spending, again, we use the 4% rule, they're spending about 21 grand a year, right, ish, in today's dollars. That means that if they have 150 grand here in the short-term bucket, like in the G fund, the F fund, that sort of thing, then they've got the next 7 years, the first 7 years of their retirement locked down in something safe, which is incredible. That's amazing, right? Which allows the rest of their money to get some growth over time, to beat inflation, to make sure you build wealth over time, that you never run out, right? This sort of bucket strategy paired with the 4% rule is an incredible way to first find a tailored approach for you that makes sense, right? A tailored approach for you that makes sense, and give you a strategy that you can stick with throughout your retirement. Now, I know every situation is so different. I know this was a simplified example. I know some people aren't going to take Social Security right away. I know sometimes you need more money early in retirement. I get it. I know there's lots of different factors here, but hopefully this gives a simplified example so you can start thinking, okay, for me, how much do I have in the TSP? How much do I have for my pension? What does this look like for me to come up with a strategy that I can invest and be confident in retirement? Those are the sort of questions you need to be asking. So I know if you're new to this stuff, especially, this might come off and it may be a lot. I know, especially if you're not familiar with like the TSP funds, like the G fund, the F fund, the C fund, the S. I know it could be a lot. So hang with me. Just keep watching my videos, right? Just keep watching, keep listening. And over time, this stuff is going to become like second nature, right? You just need to stick with it. It's going to take some reps of just watching more and more videos, especially my TSP videos, which I talk about this sort of things. So hang on. I hope that is helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, if you want more things like this, let me know in the comments below, and my team will let me know, right? I say, hey, they like this, right? Or share it with a friend. The more views we get on certain pieces of content lets us know, hey, this is the sort of thing federal employees want to know. This is the sort of thing people are interested in, and we base our future content based on that. So again, I hope that's helpful. If you're new here, there's tons of helpful links in the description below that'll help you get to where you want to go to have a comfortable and confident retirement, and we'll go from there. So have an incredible rest of your day. We'll see you guys in the next video.